Shoes, chalk, memberships. There's so many things in the world of indoor climbing that cost you money. So let's talk about how to save some money instead. All right, welcome back to Go to Zero. I want to talk with you today about how to save money while doing indoor bouldering. This is going to be the first of a three-part series that I'm going to be doing talking about ways to save money. Now, who am I to talk on this? Well, I have been doing this a long time and I have been paying out of pocket for it the entire time. So I've had to learn the hard way, and I want to share a lot of that with you so that you can get into this and have a lot of fun without spending all your money. All right, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is going to be memberships, day passes, punch, all that kind of stuff. So how do you save money here and what makes the most sense? Well, bottom of the ladder is going to be your day passes. Day passes usually are the most expensive. I've seen these range anywhere from $10 all the way up to $30, $35, depending on the gym and depending on the country. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, the next tier of this, if you're visiting, sometimes you're going to be staying an extra couple of days. You might want to go more than once. Punch passes might be the way to go. So that's going to be your second tier here. Punch passes, you can usually buy 5, 10, some do 15, 20 punch passes. Things to keep in mind with punch passes, however, sometimes you can use it for other people, sometimes you can't, and sometimes they expire. Sometimes they don't. If they don't expire, they're often a really good value, especially if it's a place that you're going to come back to regularly. I do this a lot with different states that I like to visit. I might have a few punch passes at this gym, a few punch passes at that gym. And if they don't expire, I just come back again and again and again. Next level we're going to talk about is the membership itself. Memberships are usually the best deal if you're going to go more than 4 times a month. You're going to be living in the area, or honestly, if you're visiting an area for about a month. Monthly on its own usually is more expensive than an EFT membership. EFT requires some type of activation fee, can vary, and then it's going to be a lower monthly than just paying for a monthly every month. That's a consideration. It'll save you a little bit of money on a continuing rate. Some gyms do have discounts for first responders, students, Access Fund members. There's a lot of different discounts, so always check into those. Now, the one thing above the membership, the way to save the most money are what I call specialty programs, which would include annual memberships, which pays for 12 months in advance. These tend to be the best deal, and especially if you catch them on a yearly sale. A lot of gyms do a yearly sale with those kind of memberships. Also, students, if you are going out of state or even maybe out of town for college and you want to be able to climb for, say, 3 months just for the semester while you're out there, student memberships will often last 3 months and function exactly that way for you. So they work just like a normal membership, use it like crazy, but you get a huge discount, and often you get a few extra perks with some of those packages as well. So those are some ways to save money with memberships and day passes. Hope that helps. Next, let's talk about shoes. All right, so shoes. I really have so many feelings about this, and it's hard to talk about because people get really hurt on this subject really fast. So the thing I'm going to say about shoes is, again, the other coaches have done good jobs on talking about what kinds of shoes out there, but especially if it's your first pair of shoes, you probably don't need to go too wild. Any basic pair of shoes will do. If you're a little short on cash, looking at used shoes like this gym happens to have, or looking at used shoes available as well as clearances, things like that. But the thing to keep in mind with your first pair of shoes is they are going to wear out really, really quick. Now, with that said, I want to give you some tips for looking at these, because some of these you're going to find, or even at REI, if you find clearance items there, one of the things that you'll notice is the tip of the shoe. So I'm going to bring that really close to the camera here. I just want to show the edge of the shoe, and here where the rubber wraps around the toe is the most important thing. It might not stand out to you if you're brand new. You might be like, oh, the whole shoe. No, no, no. Trust me, this edge is key. If a climbing shoe wears through here, it's more or less gone. Now, on that note, if you are a little bit newer to climbing, you're just gonna get your first pair of shoes. You're probably gonna wear them into the ground, and that's it. For shoes in the more advanced or intermediate range, you say you're getting into climbing, you're getting fairly strong, you're outgrowing your first pair of shoes. It's time to get a pair of shoes that actually works well. The thing about that is that they can be resoled. So keep that in mind when you look at the price. These soles can be replaced. Half soles are especially common in some indoor-oriented shoes, and half soles are cheaper to resole than full, but ultimately you're gonna pay half, maybe even a quarter of the price resoling versus buying a new pair of shoes. And it can bring them back really fast. Also, pro tip, I found this out the hard way. Now, Evolve does not recommend this. I wanna say that because they will say that, but any shoe that uses synthetic material can be washed by hand, dried in the air. It's worked out really well for me. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're just bouldering, you can bring one of these big bouldering chalk buckets instead of a single bucket, and that can work for 3, 4, even 5 people. All right, so the last thing about shoes I want to point out is that spending more money on your first pair of shoes is not going to make you a better climber. It will hurt more. And even if you went and sized a pair of, I've seen people on their first day with La Sportiva Solutions, for example. Cool, if it's comfortable enough that you can wear it on your first day, I'm gonna be honest, it's probably not doing what it's supposed to do, so you're wasting your money either way. So the most important thing is find a shoe that is comfortable, and check out some of those channels I mentioned for coaching. They have some great shoe selection videos. All right, so I wanna talk about workout equipment, because one of the things to keep in mind with gyms is what is the amount of workout equipment that they have in the gym, and how much do you honestly need? Now, I'm not a coach, and I want to be really clear about that going into this. Probably a good idea for me to suggest some coaches. If you're going to get into equipment in the gym and why to use that for climbing, I would push you towards Lattice Training, Dave McLeod, Catalyst Climbing. Those are going to be just my big 3 right now. All right, so inside of a gym, one of the most important things for me and my training personally is some kind of a dip bar like this, because it allows me to work on the chest. They also have a nice bench over here and some free weights, and these guys also have some bikes, Nordic, a little pull-up bar with some rings attached. This is a pretty decent collection, and this is really gonna vary by gym. So some larger commercial gyms that I've toured, obviously they have a huge, expansive workout area. They may have separate cardio and weight rooms. And that is something to keep in mind when you're looking at a gym, you're looking at all those costs and things like that. Are you gonna have to pay for another gym? Do you need to go somewhere for your weight training needs or your cardio training needs, things like that? This can actually be a bit of a money saver, so I wanna say this on behalf of a lot of climbing gyms. Even the smallest climbing gyms I've been to have workout areas that can do a great deal. All right, so another thing I thought would be really helpful for people that are getting into hangboarding a little bit. Hangboarding without a timer, without anything like that, is gonna cause you problems. But if you were to get something like the Rock Prodigy app by Trango, I'm not a sponsor by any stretch, that's just what I use because I use their boards at home. You can set these up and you can do all your timing with the board. And this is gonna help you not only time it, but record it, have an idea of what's happening. So keep in mind, you don't really need external timers. I love when gyms do this, by the way, so I just wanna say to any of the gym owners out there, if you don't already have a setup that holds phones under your hangboards, please consider adding that. It helps everybody. Thank you so much.